welcome to Stab in the Dark. This is our podcast on the TV series You. We're currently on season 1 of You, and it is the season finale. Here we go.
Yes. Yeah.
And
all that 2018 excitement.
Whoa! Oh yeah, the big numbers on Netflix.
Yeah,
in
double
2025.
digits.
Yeah. And basically we're doing it because these two have never seen it before. We wanted to cover a TV show, do something a bit different from our normal movies stuff. And this was the one we decided upon for now. So I have seen it. These two haven't. There's Mike fiddling with his mic. And there's
Mike
Dave.
the fiddler.
Fiddling with his Dave.
Fiddling. Yeah.
That's
Nice. Yeah. Funniest thing you said all year.
Probably.
Make it a clip.
So here we are, episode 10, and there's a big one that someone predicted last episode. And Mike,
Don't give it to fucking Mike. Bullshit.
Yeah.
You're not getting credit for that.
I told you Candace wasn't dead, Dave. I've been telling you.
literally for 8 episodes you were going.
Okay, we'll get into the episode properly. We're going to talk about this.
Go on.
Because I was reflecting, and it's the dumbest fucking thing, that basically, based on no evidence, I was convinced she was alive. And then in the episode where she has the most screen time, it cuts away before he kills her, which is such... It's like the Game of Thrones rule
though, right?
that she's alive.
Yeah. But I came up with some award-winning writing to make sure she was alive, right? It's not the writing that turned out right, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But you
it was better. It was better.
You still fucked it up.
I know. Like I said, it cut away before she died. I should have known.
You tripped at the last hurdle.
Oh, fucking hell. I've been saying that since like episode 1, haven't I?
Yeah, but they've cut away from people on death.
Oh,
before,
yeah, I
right?
get
Like with Peach,
that's true.
so
That's true. Yeah.
We've got justification
and
for that.
And we're back at the end of this one.
Correct.
I do have to say, throughout the series, one of you has been predicting very well. I have a little thing for you today.
Is it the award?
It's the award.
Oh, we get an award.
Best prediction, best predictor. And it's Brooklyn. It's empty, but it goes to you, Dave.
Oh,
Dave
yes.
gets the best prediction
Thank
of the
you.
year because you've got a serious amount right this season.
Except the biggest one.
Well, yeah, you did until that very last one.
Yeah.
And I've been impressed with the way you've been able to predict and weave.
Well, I think you
how
were the
things
first
are
person
woven.
to champion the possible idea of it just being Beck this season and then moving on to the next person.
Yeah,
next season.
and the idea of like you got little beats correct as well, where things might happen in episodes, like where Peach might die, and you said between episode 6 or 7, and she died in like right in the middle of that, and stuff
amazing.
like that. And then so I'm like, well, actually, that's quite impressive. So you obviously know how TV shows. Maybe you should become a
TV show whisperer
runner.
over there.
Quit your job now and start producing. TV
I would just
shows.
produce like the most cliche-riddled, formulaic TV shows based on that.
So what you're saying?
Yeah, but
is
that's what Netflix wants.
Exactly,
That's
that's
what gets the viewers.
Yeah.
yeah, Netflix loves that shit. You should go there right now. So I have been quite impressed while watching it, and people who watch and listen to this podcast have also said your predictions are quite
Oh, really?
well
the
thought
money.
out. Yeah, and on the money.
Whereas Mike's chatting shit.
Plenty of times, yeah. But yeah, so 9 times out of 10, you've been quite good at this. So yeah, congrats.
So you keep it up in season 2?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to our predictions for season 2, which will be unless you've seen it. Have you watched any of it?
Season 2?
Yeah.
No?
No, good. Why are you looking
What?
so...
He's been watching it all along. That's why he's got the award.
Why is that because you're wearing sheepskin clothes? Are you sheepish?
Yeah,
Why is that?
A literal wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah. This is why he's been doing so well.
Yeah.
You did
Cheating the whole time.
Yeah. Just downloaded all the scripts onto his phone. Yeah.
So not even the fun way to cheat. I'm not even watching it.
No, you've just been reading the Spark Notes. Yeah.
Control F, twist.
Yeah.
So let's get into this episode. We've got that Joe learning that Annika, Lynn, that Peach's family have hired a PI to look into her death. And that's a big part of this episode where Joe is kind of playing it now, isn't he? He's playing it up. He's got Beck in the underground layer and he's in his box as normal as he does to people all the time.
Yeah. But he's being full mask off though, isn't he? He's like not lying anymore.
He's quite
fully
unhinged.
confessing to it.
This feels like a different show altogether. You know, like basically carrying on from like that final scene in the last one. Now his mask is off, like you say. It's way cooler, man. Like it's way more.
unhinged Joe.
I noticed that this episode, like twice, they said the F word, which I don't think they said in any of the other ones.
Oh, right. Okay.
I'm like, wow, that's weird. Like, it really does literally feel like a different
Do you remember
show.
the instances, or
No,
pick up on
there was one early. I just
word
wrote all F bomb, and then there was another one later.
the Dave notes?
Yeah, they're great. My great notes as always.
F bomb.
F bomb.
Yeah, I mean it's quite fun and interesting to get this kind of interaction with the characters because they've hidden from each other so long, and at a couple of points in this episode, Joe will literally use Beck as like a sounding board for what to do next with his own like Machiavellian behind the scenes plans up till this point. So that's quite cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been going through because I know the fate of Beck, and I know I've known it obviously all along. Like I felt quite sorry for her this series, even though you two are like going, "Fucking hate this bitch."
I wasn't saying that.
She's a slut.
I never called her a
definitely-
slut.
I know, Joe.
Definitely not what I'm bringing to the table.
But
she was terrible though in certain instances.
But I was like, especially in the episode with her dad in, I was like, man, Joe's such a prick. Like,
Yeah, in retrospect, that's quite interesting as kind of like a humanizing element for Beck. Now we know she's not going to be in it going forward and she's dead. Getting this background on her is, especially on the rewatch, I imagine, quite,
yeah, it's
sad.
more personal.
It's
Like
quite a sad
they're building
revelation.
her up.
Do you still
Yeah.
think the dad's going to come back, Mike?
Well,
Could do.
he did.
What if he comes back for revenge
He did come back in the
in the funeral?
That doesn't count. That doesn't count.
It does.
No.
But you predicted that on the last episode, so well done.
Did I?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
As a comeback.
Yeah. So
What?
maybe you should change your tune, good
Oh,
sir.
then I take it all back.
Yeah.
Except my correct
We're going to take the
predictions.
trophy away from you.
No,
Yeah.
I already did.
Where is it?
You already did.
Mike?
Oh, no, don't give it to him.
Congratulations.
We'll edit around it. It was always me.
You did really well this series.
I wanna-
Dave shit.
My family
fuck's sake.
and God and everybody. Yeah.
The big GOD.
Yeah, big GOD. Without him, everything wouldn't happen.
Yeah, and I mean, Joe is very, very like now. In a way, Joe has been quite bad all season, but perhaps he has been justified in his actions into some respects. I'm not saying anyone justifies murder.
What, murder?
No, I'm not saying that.
Stalking?
What's being justified?
What's been justified?
Because his murder and stalking. It hasn't been justified, but his justifications, when you're in his mind, you can go.
It has
I can see
bettered
where it
Beck's
comes
life, and Beck does tussle with that a little bit. But it's a harsh price.
I don't think she
to pay.
does. Not
However-
I don't think she tusses with it, really.
From. However,
No. I think she realizes that and rejects it immediately. But there's a certain point that she's like, "Well, yeah, I am having more time to write, and my life is better than it was before." So she has to come to terms with the fact that it's because of this bullshit.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, we take it comedically for most of the series when he's like inept at killing and he kills Benji and Peach and things like. But when it's
Poor old Benji.
Beck, when it's Beck, and we've sort of grown with her in this show and we know a bit more about her, and that it is quite horrific.
Especially when she's just getting it basically on paper, right? She doesn't get all of the tomfoolery of the actual execution of these things. She gets the hard line, like, he killed Benji.
Yeah.
Burned his body.
And it's
buried it.
it's much
Like,
worse
it's-
when you hear the bullet points.
It's like
than
reading
you
the,
see-
the plot of Serbian film. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when you think he's like keeps the teeth of Benji, and that's weird, and he keeps her panties in his like locker, and like did we say a tampon?
Yeah. And he's got all the phones. And
What did you think of the tampon?
I thought it was really cool that he kept a tampon.
Why?
I made a note about that.
Is that another ooh?
No, it was from the last episode. Joe kept a tampon, question mark, exclamation mark, cool.
I'm just imagining.
Why
every
is that
single
cool?
line
Is
in
it
there
because
has
it
got
makes
the
it more
word
evil?
cool.
Or...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just
Not
like
that you keep
it's so
tampons.
sinister. No, well, it can be two things, but yeah, it's just like so
You
sinister.
should see his
to mine.
tampon room.
Yeah.
His new house.
Yeah. The wall lined with
Yeah.
For insulation.
insulation. Yeah.
Yeah, he says it's to prevent the leaks.
Yeah.
But we all know.
They would be good for that.
Yeah.
I do want to say, because I forgot to say in the last one, but in both these last two episodes, their performances, Penn Badgley and Elizabeth Lowe, amazing.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, he's always been good, but he was exceptional in the last episode. For her, I wasn't very, very impressed overall. Like, over the season, she was not bad, but not
it was fine, and maybe I would say slightly flat in some.
Yeah,
appearances.
but in this
When
episode,
she's put into this like
in this-
panic situation, it's
like
very
really,
believable,
really,
very
really good. Yeah.
And the same for him. Because he's in this unhinged kind of mask off mode.
Yeah, I mean,
he
he's
gets
so
he gets
entertaining to watch.
Like
Yeah,
fully display his abilities. He's
Yeah.
very good at that.
yeah, he had like so much range. Yeah,
Yeah, I definitely agree with you both. Like the range of him in this one and all these different emotions coming to, because there are parts of Joe where you think that, like I said, there's justification for some things, and the way he is can be justified in some respects, and he's not entirely evil all the time. Some of the things he does, and I think that's the sort of subplot of this episode and about the season is kind of the neighbors, where in a way,
Yeah,
I mean, it is
he
toxic.
has the capacity for purely good Samaritan
Yeah,
behavior.
but he does it in his weird way. But Paco, I think his relationship with Paco is a genuine, like, wanting to.
yeah. I mean, he's like I think now that we've seen. We
Mooney flashbacks.
about the Mooney flashbacks,
It's
yeah,
very
and
reminiscent
also
of
his
that, yeah.
his thing about like clearly was he adopted or just like abandoned by his parents?
No,
Well,
there's-
they say the dad was like an asshole. I think there's allusions
And,
to
yeah.
him being like physically abusive.
Yeah,
and the mom never really stood up.
That was it.
Didn't
yeah.
really give a shit.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
possibly
yeah.
was a drinker.
So it probably like
Yeah.
has like an ideal image of how parents should be, I think, which is probably why he's so protective of kids that don't have good parents.
Yeah, and
And
he probably sees himself in Paco a lot
Yeah,
more
yeah.
when he realizes that his parents are reminiscent of Joe's parents.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's more, he's
fact-
he's basically the Mooney figure, right? Where he's
Yes, exactly. In fact, yeah, I realised that Ron and Claudia's relationship is exactly like how his parents' relationship
Yeah.
is described, right? Yeah.
So, what did we think of the culmination in Ron's story?
I was like, thank fuck he's finally dead.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe he lasted all the way to the last episode.
yeah. I did
yeah.
think this was going to be the way it goes. I just didn't know when it was going to happen. And again, I praised the fact that they're not leaving a whole lot of things to be resolved in the next season. It's quite self-contained.
It is actually nice because there's not a lot of plot threads left
apart from
by
the PI,
the PI and the
and
cop.
Candace stuff.
Yes.
Those are the only things that basically lead
Yeah.
into the next. And the Rock, if we ever hear from that again.
What was the Rock again? Like,
the
in
Rock
the
that he
park.
flew away that probably has his fingerprints on and has blood on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like that it wraps everything in a nice, neat little package. And then also, as far as the Ron stuff goes, that's quite interesting as well. It's very dextery again. The fact that Paco's kind of right there in the loop with it as it happens. And
Yeah,
is
like
keeping
his
the
party
secret.
to it, and also
Yeah.
that he like
And then later
almost he
on-
almost pays Joe back, right, by not letting her out.
Yeah, correct. He's basically an accomplice to Beck's death.
I was a little bit disappointed. I understand why they did it. I was a bit disappointed that they seemingly have wrote him and his mum out of the story going forward.
I don't believe it long term. I don't think we'll see him for a few episodes, but
Maybe they'll take a break. This is normally the thing with like child actors, though, is that they they age up
yeah,
and
but
or maybe
they can
one
bring
bit,
him back as a different actor.
Yeah, I think
or whatever.
yeah, maybe, or maybe they'll bring him back in like a couple of seasons or something.
Yeah,
But it would have been interesting to see like that relationship reach another level now that he knows who Joe is. Basically, he's seen Joe murder, and also
where it'd be a full blown.
seemingly knows that he presumably knows that Joe killed Beck as well, right? Like based on what he saw.
Yeah, and possibly others, because when Beck's at the door, she basically says like Joe's a murderer. He's dangerous.
Yeah.
I think she possibly name drops someone. I don't know. But either way, I think Paco gets the memo that Joe's a bad man and still makes the decision he makes to not save Beck. So
Yeah, I'm glad Ron's gone. I liked his death, like straight to
yeah,
the throat by Joe.
It was so abrupt.
Yeah.
That was quite good. Yeah.
And Joe does have that killer instinct. He's getting better at it as well, I think. And
Well, that was his most
that's
adept
true,
kill
that's
of
true,
the
yeah,
entire
yeah.
thing. Yeah, there was no mess to
Well, he
it.
was already like injured though, wasn't he, Ron? Because he'd been hit over the head, hadn't he, by Paco?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct. But there was no, like hesitancy
No
or
Joe.
even any monologue whatsoever
Yeah,
from Joe.
yeah.
He just walked up and did it. Like,
and then back in the main plot, we still have Beck like trapped. She's writing because she's got nothing else to do.
Oh, it was nice to go back. I actually really liked this part when she was writing the story, and she and we got to go inside her head again because she was like narrating the story, right?
yeah.
And I do still, and I think I said this after the dad episode. I lament that we didn't get to stay inside her head the whole time.
Mm.
It would have been cool if they'd done like a casino thing as well, where like we hear her voice when Joe murders her, and she gets cut off mid narration, like in Casino.
That's dark.
Yeah, well,
really
it'd be cool.
It is a horror podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. How dare you?
I say. Yeah. Well, yeah, I love that little bit of like kind of prose that she's typing out as it's backgrounded by these scenes. I think because it is quite a well written little bit of exposition text, kind of like in a
Yeah, and she's like been
going
reflecting on
through.
herself quite a bit, I guess, right? Being stuck inside there.
It does give you like a certain sense of like, oh, maybe she could have been a good writer, or maybe she is a good writer, kind of thing, because it is quite a well written little bit of something that she's putting down there.
It's also kind of like it felt like she'd become fully actualized. I actually think I'm just thinking about it now, like what you said when Joe said to her that, Beck, your life is better because of me.
Yeah.
That must make her like really think, right?
Yeah.
Like shit, I need to that can't
Well, she's always...
that can't be my reality. I have to become I have to get away from this, and I have to become myself. I have to I can't be.
As she said in her own words, right? She's kind of looked up to other people or depended on other people.
Exactly.
And so on.
Yeah, exactly.
And because of what Joe's done for her, she's reached what she thinks is her own strength, but it's only at the cost of everything Joe's done. And
I like to think, especially like through the process of like writing and like basically self-inserting, into the story that she wrote, that she's basically come to terms with that, and now she's ready. If she would have lived, she would have actually become fully actualized as a person, and she's finally learned that lesson. And the story was like her coming to terms with that, but then she died. So
yeah,
unless she didn't, she didn't, because again we don't see
the death.
We don't see the death, and Candace came back. So
I mean, maybe she wasn't in the dungeon like you said.
No, that was me with the dungeon.
Was it?
With Candace.
Oh, was that you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we recorded the last one.
She's just occupant 1.
I see.
Occupant 2 after Candace.
So I got that. Sorry.
Yeah, but at the same time,
didn't you think it was really cool though?
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. Yeah.
But we see him bury the body, right? In Dr.
A body.
Yeah, Dr. Nicky's house.
Yeah, you can't just bury any old body in there.
Yeah, just
it would be her body
on the murder of Beck.
It wouldn't be Ron.
It could have been.
Yeah,
I guess. I don't know. Swap the teeth.
Sorry, you're fucked there.
I do love the scene where the doctor's brought out and he's so visibly confused. He just doesn't know what the hell's going on. Like, yeah.
You really did get what you deserved, I guess.
Yeah.
Poor bloke.
I know. Poor old Dr. Nicky, man.
I feel so.
Became one of my favourite characters by the end.
He's an arsehole, but he's not like...
He's alright. No, he's alright.
Yeah, he's alright. He's an arsehole, but he's not a murderer.
Yeah, he's like a normal asshole.
He is a human being.
Yeah.
Well, he was still a nicer guy than Benji, so...
Whoa.
Dave, you just love arseholes.
Yeah.
Big asshole fan.
Yeah. What do we think of Beck's, like, when she nearly gets Joe to let her out, and then she just, like, goes...
Classic dumbass Joe shit. Like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
Why did she look at the fucking, like, key and lock, like,
Well, she didn't do it on purpose, but at the same time, that's an absolute rookie error.
Yeah.
Same as not presuming that he has a way of getting out of the box himself.
And not taking the key.
Yeah, correct.
Like
all
you
of
know
these
the
things.
door's going to be locked.
Classic horror
key.
kind of like you can forgive it because it's a stressful situation, but she made a lot of mistakes there.
Even break off the key while it's in the lock.
Or just bash the shit out
Kill
of his
him.
head.
Yeah, kill him.
When he's down.
Bash him into mashed potato.
Well, yeah,
he ain't gonna kill you then.
Yeah.
So
he goes down like Mr. Burns, doesn't he? Like,
man getting hit by football.
Yeah. It's like really.
Dunk.
It was comedic to me, and he's just like, he's this weedy fucking thing that runs. Like, he's not very clever, is he? In this,
yeah. I don't
have a high opinion.
He's not. I mean, Beck thinks he's pretty threatening, understandably, but we know that he's not very threatening. And if she had her shit together and kept it cool, like I said in the last episode,
like Pookie.
Yeah,
not Pookie.
Pookie.
Yeah. She'd have been fine, but
alas,
it's the way it goes. I mean, yeah. To a certain extent, this kind of works as a mini series. I feel like this season, if it was just a one
if
and
they
done.
never did another one, it would work. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
And I like that. That's what I want from my TV.
So Joe, did you say that it was on Lifetime just for season 1?
I think so.
And then it went to Netflix.
Yeah, maybe.
Can you look it up? Because I can't look up anything
Yeah,
The
Netflix.
spoilerization.
It does go to Netflix.
after on season 2.
Yeah. The network passed on the second season, and it would move to Netflix as a Netflix original series.
Just the following year, right? There wasn't a big hiatus.
2019 was it? The next one.
Yes, it was released entirely on Boxing Day 2019.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was all shot.
I think it's going to be like
another 10 episodes.
way more gratuitous. That's what I'm hoping for. I want
They're going to go full horror.
I want 10
full
episodes
thriller.
of like episode 10 basically.
Mm.
Well, because now it's on Netflix as well. There's going to be less restrictions, right? I think.
You would think.
Yeah.
I thought some of the, especially in this last episode, what was jarring were the ad network break bits.
Yeah.
And it has been for
The
the full
fade to black.
series. Yeah, it
Yeah.
breaks some of the immersion you get out of it. So I can't remember exactly if season 2 changes this,
But to a certain extent, I don't mind that purely because it means the way they work the episodes plotting is that they formulate multiple cliffhangers. Okay, we don't get an ad break to separate a cliffhanger from a resolution, but it does, to a certain extent, force.
It feels a bit
15 minutes there to be like.
it feels a bit
climax.
dated now though. It feels like watching Lost or something.
I mean, it depends if you like the style at the time. I love that in 24, right, where they've
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
every 15
it is
minutes.
like 24. Yeah.
yeah, there's a big shocking thing. How's this going to end? Okay, we get the resolution straight away, but they build towards this tense moment.
So, what are our predictions now? Because basically, at the end, everything happens. In fact, let's wrap that up briefly. Do we like the end of Beck? Are you satisfied with the book? And were you annoyed at that at all, Mike? I know sometimes endings for you can be a bit jarring. So,
No, I liked it. I like the fact that it was a final full stop in the Beck saga. I like the fact that Joe has a way of internalizing it as basically a success story for himself and a success story for Beck specifically, which is what he thought his aims were. So he's coming off of it with a sense of like that was a good thing.
Yeah,
and that spurs him to do it again, really, or try again to do.
He says something really interesting. Just going back, it's either this episode or the last episode. I can't remember now. But he says something like, "I'm starting to feel dirty because I'm acting for myself instead of for you."
Yeah,
And it's like really interesting, right? Like, man, and yeah, exactly like how he framed her death as a success for her, and in the
that
narration,
aggrandizes himself because
but precisely because that's
Yeah.
that's how he gives himself value is via
his effect on
other people. Yeah.
yeah.
And like when he's like the final narration when basically the audience is catching up after 4 months or whatever after she died.
Yeah.
He's like talking to Beck, right, and saying, basically selling himself and selling what he did to her. It's really interesting.
Almost
like,
convincing, like his internal monologue and an internal depiction of Beck that he's done the right thing.
Yeah,
He's done
yeah.
it for
Basically
you,
done her a
and-
favor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's quite interesting. And I love the final scene before we get to the Candice reveal, right, where it seems like a complete and total like rehash of the very first.
Yeah, so I wrote
episode.
I jumped the gun a little bit when I started writing predictions.
Unlike you, Dave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because like you say, they like recreate the opening of episode 1 at the end of episode 10.
Yeah.
And like, oh, brilliant! Like they're just starting the cycle again with another woman, which was what I thought. As soon as I realised that Beck wasn't going to live, I assumed that's what season 2 was going to be.
Yeah, but it's a very well handled twist reveal for it to be Candice.
To actually be Candice, yeah, I was actually genuinely not expecting that.
Yeah,
despite what I said the
I
whole
was
season.
all into the fact that
It was going to be a reboot
we're,
of the.
we're cycling through to the next woman.
But I reckon it's
Yeah.
quite logically done, though, with Candice appearing at the end. I think it's really well done with that shock. There's nothing saying either she's alive or dead at that point.
Yeah, and
No,
it's,
no, I
it's very
agree, I
interesting
agree.
how surprised Joe is that she is alive as well.
Well, no, because like she says that, doesn't she? He's like, Candice. She's like, yeah, I'm alive, or something like that.
Yeah,
like he was
yeah.
expecting her to not be alive,
As if he left her for dead or something.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
my
yeah.
presumption. Yeah.
which means he probably did engineer those photos of her. right in the last episode.
Maybe we'll find out.
I'd
soon.
imagine
maybe
so.
we'll find out.
Yeah.
Let's just go through before we do predictions for what we think could come up in season 2. Let's do a bit of quick fire. So, who is your favourite character of the series?
Oh,
season 1.
Dr. Nikki has got no.
Dr.
No, it's Joe.
Not Benji.
Of course, it's Joe. No.
What about you, Mike?
I would have to say, I don't think there's a lot of characters that I outright love, but the strongest, well-written character is Joe. Yeah.
I like Peach.
Oh yeah.
I thought Peach
was good.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite
If she was
surprised.
in it all the way through as an antagonist, I possibly would be saying her name.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, in my head monologue, whatever, head canon, whatever it is,
Yeah.
she is there throughout all 10 episodes, and it culminates near the end.
So
the
it's
whole thing.
somewhat-
Oh, so you remembered her
Surprised
in
you
it for
that
longer?
she-
Did you?
Yeah, I did, because she
Surprised you
made
that
more
she
of an
died
impression on me.
Yeah.
Episode
To be
6.
honest, though, she's a really, really good choice, actually.
And
yeah.
to be honest, episode 7 and 8, I'd be happy if it was an 8-parter.
I was
and
about
just
to
get
say
rid
that
of
as well. I would have got rid of that and just go from Peach's death to basically the
Yeah,
climax.
they are quite
Yeah.
filler-esque,
Yeah.
especially in retrospect now that we've seen 9 and 10.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing where they're just like, are we in love? Yes, we're in love. Are we in love? I guess it brings in Dr. Nikki. I think that's the one thing it does. But I reckon he could have been maybe in it throughout.
Yeah, because she's been seeing him the whole time.
In a Sopranos type way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she originally start seeing him because Peach died. They could have just made up another reason, like her daddy issues or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
she could have easily been seeing a therapist the entire way.
In my
we
opinion-
knew that Beck needed support. And
I think,
outside
The Jedi are evil.
opinions, so.
Yeah, from my point of view.
How'd you feel about Sand? Yeah.
So I think it would have been, I think it would have been good to get him in from the beginning. He's a great character, and I also think it would have been a good way to show the audience Beck's thoughts without going inside her head, because it kind of broke the format a little bit, like to have one episode inside her head, and then she gets a voiceover in the last episode.
True.
Like do it or don't do it.
I think you should commit. Or
I think we commit to
not
being
do it
in
at
Joe's
all.
head, or we have being both their heads, or we just have Joe be in Joe's head and then she talks to a therapist.
Maybe it would have been more elegant for Beck to have written it down, and then Joe reads basically her internal monologue in that one episode where we saw that.
Yeah, I think also what might have been interesting is if he was in it the whole time and they flirted with the idea of them having an affair, but us not ever hearing it until Joe hears about it too. So the affair would be revealed.
we don't see it. But
We don't see it.
But they're like flirting.
They flirted with it, and Joe has a suspicion as he does, but doesn't act on it. But now, like, he does, and he goes for it, and it's actually true. And we are revealed that with Joe, like, she's betrayed us. If you see what I mean, because we're always with Joe and his point of view.
Yeah, it could have been a bit more long-standing to make the the therapist betrayal more impactful. I think. Yeah. And in terms of favourite characters, I do like Paco as well.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he's going to be in the next season, but I think he grounds the kind of crazy behaviour of Joe, and some of the best interactions between characters that don't develop the plot are Paco and Joe's, I think.
It was he was a good vehicle for fleshing out Joe's character as well, especially once you find out about his backstory.
Yeah.
You get to like reevaluate that entire relationship, right, and learn a lot about Joe. Through the way he treats Paco,
just the pure existence of Paco.
But it's almost like Paco represents his innocence, and if Paco's not coming back, then maybe Joe's all in. Man, he's just going feral.
I think I said that multiple episodes ago, but yeah, he is basically the distance between Joe and Paco is basically like
Joe's morality,
a tell to whether he's in touch with innocence or he's not.
Most disappointing thing of the series for you?
Well, other than the filler episodes.
Yeah, other than that.
that held off the glory. I would say I was pretty resolved towards the end, I'm going to say. I was trepidatious, as I always am, with multiple season shows, that we weren't going to get a full resolution, but I felt satisfied in that regard. I'd say I do wish, not just because of those 2 filler episodes, I think it should be a bit shorter of a season.
6 maybe? 6 episodes?
Yeah, perhaps, go British with it.
But, yeah.
The first couple took a while to get going, I guess, as well. Some of the character development for everyone that wasn't Joe was a little bit rough in the start, I thought. But once it got going, I enjoyed it. Thought it was good.
I potentially would have liked a bit more Benji. I think him being in it for 2 episodes, and then you two are sort of mentioning it in that first bit.
Yeah,
It was
they
like,
kind of rushed that though, didn't they?
Yeah.
To get to the apex of
They
like,
did.
this is what Joe can do.
but it's interesting that then you two are both saying after his death, like, oh, something else happened with Benji. I remember us doing like episode 2 or 3, and you were both like, yeah, Benji thing will come back up, and it doesn't. And you sort of forget over this course of a
That's
series.
true, actually. Yeah,
That's
true.
another thing I should mention, like the Rock being forgotten.
Yeah,
Benji was
yeah.
forgotten. The body. Yeah.
So these are the sort of things that just
of
bother
course,
me
yeah.
a bit
Yeah.
with it. And
I mean, I guess they're
he
just
put in, like-
they're just dangling.
because he
for-
burnt it, but you know,
And even like there was witnesses as well, so who knows? I mean, it's wrapped up well enough if it was like a one and done season, but there are little bits they can pick up right going forward.
I mean, for all I know, though, they might take these. They might have had new writers when it came onto Netflix anyway.
Yeah,
A lot of new things.
I have to
They'll
rely on Joe for
take
like
the
all
last
the
season and
information. When we start season 2, like how much like behind the scenes changed? Is the showrunner still the same and stuff?
1 second.
Yeah, for
it's
me,
still Sarah Gamble.
okay. And I know it's based on a book as well, maybe a series of books.
It is a series of books, yeah. So the first series is based upon novel of the same name by Caroline Kepnes. Neps is one. It's either Silent Killer. It's not.
Luckily, we're not a book podcast.
No. And then series 2 is also loosely based on the novel.
Okay. There's more than one book.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a series that
Okay,
is
right.
loosely based upon the novel Hidden Bodies,
Mm.
which is a sequel to the original You book.
Yeah.
And there's 5 books, I'm guessing, because there's 5 seasons and they've already announced the last one's this next one's
Maybe
the
they
last
just
one.
like went past the books,
Well,
Game
they're
of
freestyle.
Thrones style.
Yeah. Oh, that doesn't
There are
bode well
4
if it's Game of
books.
Thrones style. Oh.
Yeah.
Season 5 is going to be wildcard then.
Unless it's a Harry Potter
Going off the
scenario
rail-
where there's
splitting
part
it.
one
I
and
reckon
part
I
two.
know the reason why, but I can't tell you why.
I see. We'll get back to you
Yeah.
months from now.
Yeah, years.
Yeah.
Right then, predictions for season 2. They obviously got nothing really to base it on. What do we reckon, Dave, you might see in season 2? What do you think we'll see? The only thing we know is Joe and Candice.
That Candace thing is going to be resolved quick.
Okay.
You think?
Yeah.
In what way?
He'll kill her. Like he already tried to kill her.
Then why would she come?
Hmm?
That would be insane of her to reappear if
I don't know,
she's
it's
gonna
maybe,
put herself in a situation where she's immediately going to get killed.
I don't know, like to blackmail him or something. It's not going to be so simple. Like if he did try to kill her, then she must have an insurance in place, right? That he won't do it again.
Yeah.
But he'll still resolve it quickly, I think. And there'll be another woman as well.
Mm.
Um,
I think there'll be another woman, but Candace will be maybe not the entire season, but the majority of the season she'll be the antagonist until we find another antagonist linked to the new woman, perhaps.
yeah, but like how can Candace be an like how can she be in the public? Like, isn't she just going to ruin everything for him straight away?
But she's not going to have the evidence, right, to implicate Joe in a legal fashion. So maybe she's lingering around to try and gather the information or whatever to actually get him into legal trouble. Or, I mean, we don't know Candace at all. Flip side, maybe she's
into
doesn't-
it. I don't-
doesn't give a shit. Yeah, she's come back because she actually likes him.
I guess like the only other thing is that it was like an accidental death
Mm.
because like he was surprised that she was alive. But like what maybe she wasn't like angry because he tried to kill her. Maybe something happened and he just left her or something and so that she's not an immediate like 0 to like massive antagonist straight away, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I don't think we know enough really to know.
Well,
how
well, exactly.
Candace
We're
is
basically
gonna
just
slip into
like-
it, but
You know, just
it could
spitballing.
go like there's dozens of ways it could go really.
Yeah. Anyway, let's leave it at that then. I
Yeah.
think that'll do for season 1 of You. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Mike. This has been a very interesting
It's been fun,
series.
hasn't it?
I've
Yeah,
enjoyed this
yeah.
one. And I'm looking forward to talking about season 2 when we do. Because I reckon things get a bit more serious in this one. I think things get I think when Netflix take over, it definitely takes a bit.
Ah, good.
Bit
So I
of
was
a
hoping for.
change.
Yep.
Change for the better? Do you like season 2 more than season 1?
I do. I really think season 2 and 3 might be my favourites. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, I reckon there's lots of fun to come. Should we go through some of the cast list here of season 2? If you recognise any names.
Sure.
So Penn Badgley,
Yep.
Victoria.
Victoria Pedret is in
Pedretti,
this one. Mike Flanagan alum.
Jenna Ortega.
Oh, she's in season 2 as well.
Yeah.
Right.
James Scully.
Is this the first thing that she was in?
It's an early one for her. Yeah, she is quite young in this.
Yeah, the first thing I saw her in was Babysitter 2, which is like 2020, something like that.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's
this is an early.
quite
This is
early.
this is one of her early
Yeah.
endeavours. I think it might be the first time I saw her in anything.
Mm.
James Scully, Amber Childers, reprising her role as Candice, and Carmela Zimbardo. That's your main cast, based upon the novel Hidden Bodies. That is it then. That's a little teaser, and maybe next series Joe will find his true love. Let's find out.